see in today's news that South Africa is sending 30 white rhinos to the Agera National Park in Rwanda because the white rhinos in South Africa have almost been poached to extinction. And I started to think, we can't even keep our rhinos safe. We know that our president went to America to tell Donald Trump that we kill everybody in South Africa. And the woman from Kasatu said, never mind killing people, we rape and slit the throats of old women. But we can't even keep rhinos safe. So we're sending them to Rwanda. It got me thinking. Rwanda's an interesting choice. In 1994, South Africa got its independence, or we became a democracy, I suppose is a more accurate way to put it. The new South Africa was born 27th of April 1994. While this was happening and the world's media was focused on South Africa, a terrible thing was happening in Rwanda. There was a genocide, a proper genocide in Rwanda. And people were dying. More than 1 million people died in that small country of 10 million people in a terrible civil war. And the country was absolutely left desolate. There was nothing left in the country. But then what happened is that Rwanda decided to commit itself to improving. And I thought, let's have a quick look at what happened to South Africa versus Rwanda since 1994, when they were having a genocide and a civil war, and we were celebrating the birth of the new South Africa. How about this? In 1994, our GDP in South Africa was $136 billion. Now it's $400 billion. So we've grown 3 times in the 31 years. Rwanda was $1.2 billion and it's now $13 billion. In other words, it went up by more than 10 times. GDP growth in those 30 years. South Africa has averaged 2.5%. Rwanda has averaged between 7 and 8%. They've had a far higher growth rate because they've been far more business friendly. Let's look at what makes up the different economies. South Africa, coming into the new South Africa, mining, manufacturing, finance. We've now added some services, but mining has dropped off. All you had in Rwanda in 1994 was subsistence agriculture, and the country was completely dependent on aid. It now has services, tourism, light manufacture, technology, as well as agri-tech, which is not just growing stuff, but the actual provision of technology around agriculture. We've moderately diversified our economy where they've highly developed their economy. Going into the new South Africa, the ease of doing business, or rather looking at where we are now, the ease of doing business in South Africa, 84th globally, whereas the ease of business in Rwanda is 38th. Now perhaps that should tell you a story. In Rwanda, you have a one-stop shop where you register your company and within 1 day you can start trading. South Africa is 84th globally. We all know how easy it is to start a business in South Africa. We know about South Africa's terrible inequality. We are among the world's worst when measured by the Gini coefficient at 0.63. Rwanda, 0.43, far more equitable. Our poverty rate in South Africa is 55%. It's below 30 in Rwanda. And unemployment, ours sits close to 50%. In Rwanda, 17%. I think you're starting to see a picture emerge here. The emergence is that after their catastrophe of a civil war and a genocide, they committed themselves to make it easier to do business in Rwanda, and they have reaped the benefit. After the euphoria of going into the new South Africa and the promise of doing trade with everybody in the world, we decided to stand in the way of doing business. And we have paid a terrible, terrible price. People ask on the question of public trust, what is your feeling of how much do you trust your government? The answer in South Africa is low. The answer in Rwanda is high. I think instead of calling for sideshows like public dialogues or national dialogues or another talk shop, perhaps all our politicians should do is get out of our way. Let South Africa fix up its own problems. Let the people get busy. You do the infrastructure, we'll take care of the rest. Thank you, comrade.